Prior to World War II, Singapore was actually part of the British colony, and eventually Singapore was invaded by Japan because Malaya had already fell and surrendered to the Japanese, and eventually the Japanese were able to invade through the lands and the forests that connected Malaya and Singapore, as well as the sea, take control of the sea and air. Singapore fell and surrendered to the Japanese. Key learning points that I learned from my education about the World War II in Singapore, about Japanese occupation in Singapore, is that number one, the island was renamed to Shonan-2, and this was very significant because Singapore kind of became a part of Japan, in that the people had to learn Japanese. Number two, they had to follow cultures and traditions of the Japanese, such as singing Japan's national anthem. They also followed celebrations and holidays that Japan celebrated. Secondly, under Japanese occupation, the lives of the people were definitely quite strictly surveyed and tightly controlled, especially the Chinese. Due to tensions between China and Japan, there were a lot of suspicion with regards to people of the Chinese people, and that also resulted in the Sukching massacre. It was a military operation where the Japanese checked, screened male Chinese men 18 and above to see if they were suspicious or if they posed any threats to the Japanese. So even people who didn't do anything wrong or were just ordinary people might be deemed as a threat, and then they would be executed, they would be killed and shot. Yes, and I think that our former Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, our late Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, was also supposed to be part of the Sukching massacre, but he managed to escape, and eventually the Japanese fell because of what happened in their own home country. Regarding the second question, I'm very curious about how the Japanese students will react to hearing about what happened in other countries, not just in Singapore, because I know of other things that happened like in other countries. How would it change their perspectives on Japan or like its past? And yeah, I just wonder how you guys would feel, and I'm just curious on how it is different from what you have learned in maybe your own school curriculum.